You are listening to Making It, the path to beauty industry greatness with Canvas Me, where we go behind the scenes to explore the human side of beauty professionals, learn how they found balance in their lives, overcame obstacles, and created communities that transcend the ordinary. Hosted by Canvas Me co-founders Jen and Matt Martinelli alongside Canvas Me directors April and Megan, Making It is your guide to navigating the ever-evolving world of beauty.
Welcome to Making It, your backstage pass to beauty. I'm April, and our guest, Manny San Martin, is a seasoned Wella educator who's championed the power of a positive attitude. Manny believes in all about saying yes and believing it's the key to unlocking your fullest potential in the industry. He shares how this mindset has literally taken him to incredible places and career milestones.
Well, Manny, we're super excited to have you here, and I am excited to hear about all of your journeys throughout this career exploration of saying yes to things. And so, Manny, before we jump into this, do you feel like you've made it?
Well, thank you for having me, and thank you for the invitation. And your question is, do I feel that I've made it in the industry? I'm assuming the modest answer, the correct answer would be no. I still have a long way to go, or I still have a lot of learning to do, which was true. But when you really look back and I guess compared yourself to when you first started to where you're at now, or where I'm at now, and you realize I would have never thought, like a 19-year-old Manny, that's how old I was when I went to hair school. I'm basically living off of just hair, and I don't even work every day. To me, that's pretty huge. I mean, I have a kid, I have kids, I have a family that I'm raising, I'm bringing up, and I'm doing all that, and I'm surviving off of this industry, and I feel like I'm cruising. So I guess it just depends on the way you look at things. So yes, I still have a long way to go, and I feel like I have a lot to offer still. There's some things I need to check off my list, but looking back, I've done a lot more than I thought I would as a cosmetology student. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, walk us through a little bit of that. How, we're all about kind of getting into how did you get into the industry? You touched upon that it was during your teenage years so walk us through a little bit of that journey.
Yeah, no problem. So I grew up in southern San Diego, so really South San Diego, and it's a great place to be. It's a great place to grow up. Beautiful, sunny, just happy childhood. I always loved playing sports. I loved baseball. I didn't really love school, traditional school. I didn't feel like I was such an academic. I did enough to get C's and just pass to the next grade. But when it came time to graduate from high school, and I did, I was more concerned about my social life, and I was more concerned about sports, but I knew I wasn't going to be a professional athlete. It was just so difficult. I was okay. I wasn't great. So when I graduated high school and I went to community college, I thought to myself, where am I going to be in 5 years? Right. And I had a moment of freak out mode. I was only 19. I was in community college, and I wasn't really attending my classes. There was no follow up. I was an adult, so I wasn't gonna get my parents on my case. All they knew is I was going to school, but they didn't know I was actually not going into my classes. But I always loved cutting my hair, and I always loved the feeling I got when I got a good haircut. And I thought that was one of the best feelings ever, and I wanted to be able to recreate that. So when I had my freak out moment of where would I be in 5 years from now, I don't want to waste my life. I could have gone worked for my dad. He had a business, but it was, a very manly thing to do. I was going to get dirty all the time. I could have gone to work with my friends who went into construction, and some of them became contractors, which is an amazing career, and they make great money. But it wasn't something I was passionate about. So I had a moment well, what do I like to do? I'm not great at math. I'm not in love with chemistry or science. I love to play sports, but it's mostly for fun. So it's like, what can I do that I feel like I could enjoy? And I thought, well, I like to cut hair. I cut my own hair sometimes. I cut my friend's hair. None of us had money at the time. We were all depending on our parents. So I thought, well, let me do this. I could see myself in a career where I could do this and I enjoy it, and I could dress up, go to work, listen to cool music, work with cool looking people, and get paid for it. So that's how I thought I'd fit in this career.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. I mean, talk about just kind of like exploring different ways where, you realize where where you enjoy something is when you get a haircut. And
Oh yeah.
that kind of was the spark to it, even though there was kind of all these different avenues, but you were just like, I don't think those are me. And I think that's one of the hardest things, because even when we're young, there's this pressure to figure out, what do you want to do? Right. And then it's like, well, I don't even know what I like.
Totally.
Yeah. So I think that is fantastic. So, okay. So you got into cosmetology school. Did you do cosmetology first or barbering?
I enrolled in, it was the very first time I used like the internet for stuff like that. I went on a website. Somebody had suggested the Vidal Academy. So I looked it up on online, which is a big deal back then.
Yeah.
This was like 2001. And I requested more information. So they mailed me like a brochure to my house where I was living with my parents. And my mom grabbed the mail and she was, "Ooh, what's this?" I go, "Oh, Mom, here, yeah, that's for me." She's like, a career in cosmetology, yeah? I go, "Yeah, I kind of enjoy getting haircuts and cutting my own hair." She goes, "I like that. Yeah, yeah. Let me know, and then I'll talk to your dad, and we'll support you." So I went to cosmetology school in Santa Monica. It was the Vidal Academy, right on the promenade. And yeah, we toured the school. My mom and we drove up. It was an amazing place. It was very colorful, like a lot of diversity with people and languages. And the school, the Sassoon Academy, was just full of like talent. So it was people that shared the same interests as me. I was like not exposed to that growing up. I grew up in a small town, small-minded town. And
Sure.
that was kind of like my window of opportunity to explore.
So it must have been one of those immediate feelings where I'm assuming when you walked into that academy that you just felt like, I belong here.
Well, I didn't feel like I belonged there because the people there looked so cool. They were like, they were all, I didn't know who was a student. I didn't know who was an instructor. Everyone was very like fashion forward. And I thought I was way out of place.
Okay. Okay.
Here I am with my like Nextel phone clip on my belt and like gelled hair, because that's what I would wear. That's what all my friends would wear back home. And I wanted to belong. So I think that's what attracted me the most. That I wanted to be in that industry. I wanted to be fashion forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So as you went through school, did you start to kind of have this idea of any type of direction, or, I know you are, you have quite the background in becoming an educator, and I'm just curious, at that age, did you have a dream of becoming an educator?
No, I did not have a dream. I didn't even know that was an option. I thought I was just going to go to school and then graduate and get a job in like somewhere nearby my hometown. But I loved being a student. They did an amazing job with me, my experience personally, that I didn't want to graduate. I thought it was like my happiest time of my life. And earlier I shared that I didn't really think traditional school was good for me. I felt like I wasn't very smart. I wasn't very academic, but I think I was just in the wrong setting, because as a student in cosmetology school, I was probably one of the best ones because I always wanted to participate. I learned, I asked questions. I wanted to recreate what I was watching, which was my instructors demonstrating. And they inspired me so much that I thought maybe halfway into my course that I would like to maybe be an instructor and inspire people one day as well, you know? And I thought they were great, talented people that even though they worked in the industry, that they didn't actually work behind a chair, and they had the opportunity to teach other people. And I thought that was an amazing alternative.
Yeah, for sure. And that
Yeah.
is one of the things where, here at Canvas Me, we're all about, showcasing that there are so many opportunities that are within the industry that isn't just behind the chair. And I love that you saw that right away of, wow, wait a minute, I could actually be an instructor for this. So take us a little bit onto that journey. You graduate, and where do you go next?
Well, I did graduate, and I wanted to maybe sign up for a whole other 10 months, 1,600 hours in the state of California, but that wasn't even a possibility. So I thought the next best thing would be maybe work for the company as an apprentice, and then take on that journey. But because I was relying on my family for funds, I had to go back home. They were like, all right, well, you graduated, school's over, and we're going to cut you off. So probably best you come home. And I did. I moved back to San Diego, which isn't a bad place to be. And I started working for, at the time, it was the Robert Cromian Salon, probably the biggest salon in San Diego for a very long time. And it was the most reputable one. And it was the place to go. I think I had turned 20. I was 20 years old, and I applied as an assistant.
Wow.
And and I applied there. I had no idea. Growing up, I didn't go to salons. I went to maybe a barber shop or maybe like Supercuts. That was like the fanciest. But yeah, so one of my instructors, who later became a friend of mine, his father worked there. And he said, hey, you're going to San Diego? He goes, go work at Robert Cromian's. That's like the place to go. So I did. And they hired me.
Wow. Like right out of the gate. I love this. So I take it this was quite the stepping stone for you, and just really kind of exposing you to a whole new kind of avenue. So now you went from school wanting to not leave school. I love that you just wanted to be forever, a student.
Yeah.
And that was your happy place, to now you're going into a location that is well known and becoming an assistant. Yeah.
I had no idea what I was getting myself into. So I'll touch on that. So all I knew was the Sassoon school and the Sassoon way of doing things, which is very organized, orderly, very precise, very methodical, right? So as a student, you're just absorbing as much information as you can, and you're just taking your time, making sure everything's right, blow drying very slowly, trying to make it as perfect as possible. Then I started working as an assistant at the busiest salon ever. And all that information, all that education you got didn't even work, because it was like, hurry up. We have to get, this person out of here. Go wash this. Go, serve some coffee. Go sweep. Do this. And it was tough. And I'm like, wait a minute. What happened to the quality? What happened to the precision? And it was just like, shut up. You're an assistant. Just get it done. And I did. And it was just like a really big taste of reality. This is the real world.
Sure.
And and I craved the education. I craved the Sassoon classroom again. But it really helped me in life to have that balance of both.
For sure. Because I'm sure that was, being so young and then stepping into, just the complete opposite experience of what you had in school, but it was more of like on the ground level. Like, how are you going to react? How are you going to grow? How are you going to keep that hunger for, learning? And it just seems like it's so ingrained in you to just keep going and wanting to, what more can I experience? Even though it was hard. I'm sure it was maybe not the most exciting time right away, because you were like, well, I had this. Wait, what's going on?
And then you start to get this reputation of like a hair snob, because you're like, well, that's not how we did things at Sassoon, and like your sections aren't straight. Like And they were just like, shut up, you know? Like, I'm like, wait, did you cross-check that? And like, people were like, what? Cross-check? No. And then I was just like, I can't watch. But these people were making a bunch of money too. So I'm like, I don't know what's right, what's wrong, you know?
Sure.
But yeah, they were really good at what they did. It was just a whole other philosophy, a whole other way of doing things. And Robert Cromians isn't known as the precision haircutter, but he's really good at, you know, making money. And everybody else just followed his lead. And
Sure.
I just happened to be in there. So
Almost like being a witness to all different kind of what your future is going to unfold of, you know, being able to see those things and recognize it like, oh, there's an opportunity here to learn, right? And there's an opportunity to teach as well. And so I'm sure that just
right.
kind of opened your eyes to a whole new avenue. So
Yes.
where did this yes mindset develop from? I know that you are big on saying yes to things.
Well, because I was so desperate to kind of recreate my school experience, my cosmetology school experience. And I think I was just very lucky also. Part of it is having a great attitude, and also timing is amazing. So at the time, Robert Cromians also realized how education was very important, and he was getting a lot of, you know, attention in the industry. He was the creative director for Paul Mitchell. He was huge. He was always traveling, and it was all through education. So at the time, he thought, you know what, I'm going to launch my own academy, and we would organize evening like classes, shows, soirees, all locally. And I was always volunteering to help because I wanted to watch. I wanted to learn. I wanted to be involved. Because the salon life was exhausting, but it wasn't fulfilling with what I wasn't feeding my creativity. I was just surviving, making money, shampooing a lot and blow drying a lot. But that wasn't what was feeding my creativity. It was just what it was paying the bills. So I wanted to be doing more. And whenever there was an event, let's just say it was a Sunday night, it started at 7 p.m., but we had to set up the stage, help with models, prepare, move tables around, all the stations, all the chairs. I was always like, oh yeah, I'll come, I'll make it, just to be there, just to be able to watch the show, not have to pay for it. And then at the end, it was just like, all right, well now we got to make the salon look salon ready for Monday or Tuesday morning. And it was just a long day, but I was there. I got an opportunity to watch. I got an opportunity to help. I got to see how the big shots at the time, like Takashi and Stephanie Kachelski, they all worked. And they also got to see me. Not that I was showing them how I worked, but I showed them my work ethic. And that really helped me down the road a few years later, believe it or not. I didn't know it at the time, but I never asked what's in it for me. I never asked if I was going to get paid. It was just, I'm here, I'm present. And when the opportunity came to maybe participate in another show or an event, I was asked, and I was all about it. So little things like that can lead to bigger things down the road. Yeah.
Absolutely. And really, you kind of put yourself in a situation where you basically were shadowing and observing and seeing how things are operating. And, even though it was hard work, right? It wasn't like you were just sitting there getting all of the benefits of just watching a great artist do their thing. You were actually absorbing a lot more information than I'm sure most would think about just being a part of this. And you intentionally put yourself there. And I love the fact that down the road, you started to get asked.
Yeah. Yeah. I got to see a lot of things that probably you don't get taught. Like, for example, how to host a model call, what to look for in models. You have them walk. And all I cared about was what they looked like or what their hair looked like. But what good is it if they're, 4'7" and they can't walk on stage with heels on? So it's like, you do this amazing haircut, but it doesn't, I guess, reveal its full potential. So that's what they were looking for. And then wardrobe and then music and all this stuff. And like how to put on a show. And yeah, it was great, very, very valuable experience for me.
Yeah. Wow. That must have been super exciting at that time of just kind of really just kind of amplifying where you could go in your career and starting to feed that hunger for that creativity, right? And then
Yes.
looking at things as a big picture that it was more of like an artist, right? You're trying to find models that not only does their hair look good and they look good, but they're also like presentation as well too.
Yeah. Yeah. And always a little bit more attention to detail than like, say, a regular client that would be like your 2 o'clock highlight haircut. It just was a whole other way of seeing things. And that really interested me. And I knew too that I was kind of leaning towards that side of education and maybe platform work more than just being behind the chair.
For sure. So in this whole mindset, has it taken you to places you never saw?
Oh yeah, for sure. So first off, I'll never forget my very first show. I had to go to Chicago for the I think it's the ABS, America's Beauty Show, and that takes place usually around end of February, March. That was the first time I seen snow like fall from the sky. Um, so that was cool, and like not that was an amazing show. I've done amazing shows after that, but to me, like, I think I was super young, and I remember being away from work, but I was still working, and I had a hotel room, and people were feeding me, buying me drinks, and everyone was at the hotel bar, and I'm like, oh my God, like, it wasn't just my salon or my team. It was like people from Redken were there, people from East Sassoon people were there, people that I went to school, like they were my instructors in school, and I'm like, oh my God. So I felt very privileged being in a group or in an area with all the best of the best in the industry at that time. And I was there, even though I was just, you know, the lowest of the low getting started, I was still there. And I thought, wow, like some of the people I went to hair school with weren't here. Like already I'm winning. So it just helped. And just to name a few places of April where I've been because of hair, like Germany multiple times, Italy. Basically was there like every other month. Seriously.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, we had a huge, and I say we, it was the John Paul Mitchell systems at the time I used to work for them, which is where, the Robert Chromians, that's how I got in there. Yeah, they had a big distributor in Rome. So we were in Rome all the time and do product launch and do collection and a big show, Cosmoprof. I went to South Africa. Come on.
Wow.
I remember thinking as a kid, like Africa, I'm like, oh, wow, yeah, probably never go there. Like, why would I go there? It's for hair, maybe on a crazy trip or a safari or something. But I went to Brazil, Mexico City. I went all over Europe. London, we got to do I don't know if you're familiar with the Alternative Hair Show. It takes place in London every like October. And
Wow.
that is like no product line, no major label is behind it. It's just hair, really cool
Yes.
hair. And it takes place at the Royal Albert Hall, which is where like it's like the Madison Square Garden of England. And I mean, I was there too, backstage. I remember Tim Hartley was behind me. Marquez walked by. Vidal Sassoon, he was still alive at the time. He shows up. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I doing here?
You
I'm
must have
getting
been like,
paid. Yeah.
you must have been like, somebody pinch me? Is this real life?
Yeah. I mean, that's probably how young actors feel like when they attend an Academy Award or some like Golden Globes and all their heroes are in the same room with them. And they're just like, wow.
Sure.
That's what it was like for me.
Yeah. So what would be some advice to any listeners here that are, early into their journey or maybe even years in and they're curious as to, how would you get yourself to maybe be exposed to some of this that you experienced? Any advice you would share?
It's different for everyone, right?
Sure.
And I mean, the stuff that works for me is not It's not going to be like foolproof and going to work for every single person. Like I said, I think timing was really good. Education was something that was emerging. I went to hair school. There was really only the Sassoon Academy that was really well known. A few years later, like the first Paul Mitchell school popped up, and then the second one in San Diego, which is where I started to be where I started my career as an educator. So education really helped me in my journey. But the best advice is to, if there's something you want, maybe just figure out what's in your surrounding, the people around you, who is the closest person that can help get you there, or what's the next step, and then what's the next step after that. And don't try to like, it isn't such a small world. You think it's not, but some of the people you might be working with now, some of the people you went to hair school with a couple of years ago, or you're in school now, those people, you'll run into them down the road. You might need them at some point, or they might need you. So it's always just try to have like the best attitude, and try not to like talk bad about anyone, because it'll come back and bite you. But really just don't focus on the other stuff. There's going to be people that are going to try to talk you out of it. There's going to be people that are going to be criticizing you, maybe like, oh, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing it that way? And it's just like, don't worry about it, you know? Just be confident in the things you're doing, because everyone else is doing their own thing. So like, why would you want to do something everyone else is doing? Figure out what it is you're good at, and like take it and run. You know, I love the saying of, don't try to be somebody else because everybody else is taken, you know? So carve your own path.
I love that, because it is so true. And sometimes it can be hard when you're first, trying to figure out what your thing is, but I think
Totally.
some of your tips are great of networking. You never know the connections that you start to make now, even today, no matter where you are in your career, of where they could lead to. And I think just always having an open mind to things, and, if a opportunity presents itself and at first it doesn't seem like that big of a deal, or it's a small thing or something like that, it's, I think really your approach of like, just go to it, right? See what it is. You just don't know, and keep expanding on that network is one of the big messages I hear. And I love the fact that you're like, don't talk bad, because the industry, as much as we say is huge, it's small. And
it's very small.
And it's just one of those things where it's, again, just keeping an open mind and staying really open to learning from others, and finding, I think that starts to help shape maybe what's your thing if you are struggling with that. I think a lot of us go through that through our journey and career, wherever you are, of, what is it that I bring to the table? What is it that I'm really good at? And sometimes it takes other people recognizing that in you, and you're like, oh yeah, okay, I am a really good teacher, right? Or it could be something completely different, or it's a burning passion that's inside of you that's like, no, I know that this is where my value is, and really focusing on that and how you can kind of hone in and get recognized.
Yes. So going back to what you're saying, and adding to what I was saying earlier about things that could help you, find something you're really good at. So when I was an assistant at the Robert Cromian salon, and all that technical haircutting wasn't even allowed, really, there was no time for it. I became a very good and very fast blow dryer. You had to. You had to hustle. So that mentality, or that mode of operating really helped me in like behind the scenes, backstage, and I became really good at blow drying. So I became Angus Mitchell's assistant. So he would just cut and like do things, and then I would blow dry his models because he wasn't going to do it. And that's what got me to Italy the first time.
Wow.
Because it's like, because I was going to blow dry. I had nobody even saw me cut till like 2 years later. When my friend DJ Mulder, he lost his passport. We were in Italy, We had a little too much vino and limoncello, and he lost his passport and he couldn't travel anymore. And we had a trip booked for like the next month. Well, he and Angus had a trip booked, but DJ's passport got lost, and he's English, so he couldn't get one right on time. He had to go to England. Anyways, long story is, who's the next best thing? Well, Manny will go with you. Manny can cut. Like, he can? Yeah, you just never seen him. So, yeah, I was available. They knew I could work. Angus got along with me very, very well. Like, I was, his right-hand man. That's after that, I wasn't his assistant anymore. I had my own day rate. I was my own person. I was a team member now. Yeah.
Wow. So, okay, first of all, huge takeaway, the fact that anybody listening, blow dry skills are key. This really was the tipping point for you of how you got recognized by being that person. And first of all, as a customer, I love getting a good blowout. So it is really good to have those skills. Wow. Oh my goodness. And so basically from there, and the fact that he lost his passport, that must have been a whole thing as well.
Yeah. So like I said, my first opportunity, I had gone to Italy once before, backpacking with my buddies, right? That was great. But my very first trip abroad was to go to Rome as Angus's assistant, as I was blow drying all his models. And I was just like kind of like in the backstage area. So DJ Muldoon, who was my instructor, whose father worked at Robert Crombie's, and he was the one that told me I should go work there. Like I said, he lost his passport that trip. He didn't know where he put it. Somebody maybe stole it. Who knows? There was a lot to drink, and back then, in those days, we were drinking a lot. Yeah. So he misplaced it, and he couldn't travel anymore. So he ended up going to England, or the consulate or embassy. I don't know where he went. And I was chosen to go on the next trip the following month. I was pretty amazing. It was just me. It was just Angus and I, British Airways, first class, all the way to Rome. Madonna was sitting in front of me. It was just like, oh my God.
My goodness.
I shouldn't be here. But then it's like, yeah, I earned it. All those, April, all those times when I said, oh, I was there. I volunteered to set up the stage. I volunteered to move the furniture around. I never asked what's in it for me. I never asked how much I'm going to get paid. I had to be there at 7 a.m. on a Sunday, leave at like 10, 11 p.m. at night. That was my reward for doing all those things. And that was just one example. Like, I did it so many times, sweeping, and like, I'm not getting recognition like financially, but later down the road, when I would get paid to go do something I would have done for free, that's how I got paid to do it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And just, I mean, really, it's all about, like, you never know those little seeds that are planting, right? Those little things that you do today that might be mundane and annoying and they don't make sense. But for you, it just seemed like all of a sudden all the right pieces of the puzzle start to play together. And I feel like that can happen to anybody. And,
yeah. I think I was like 24 when things started to really take off. So it was fast.
That is fast. I was going to ask you, like, how soon, was this like 10 years in? But that is very quick.
A very fast pace, yeah. Wow. I see. So I was an assistant for like about a year. Started at 20, turned 21. I ended up moving back to LA for a year when I wanted to work at Sassoon. I needed more of that foundation. Came back and became an educator for the Paul Mitchell School in San Diego. That was in 2004. So yeah, I think I was 23, 24 when I started to really do amazing things.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
It was pretty cool. It was just, I understood then how, when I used to hear or read about young celebrities where they can't handle the limelight, or not that I was anywhere near that level, but it's tough. Like, if you don't have your mind really set on what it is your goals and your values and your morals are, I mean, you can easily just get lost in the world of like traveling, bars, first class, uh, fancy, expensive dinners. I never paid for anything. I didn't have to. I was working. I was surrounded by, all the big shots.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, I knew who I was. I had a very strong foundation, like my family and stuff. So yeah, and I didn't let it go to my head. And that's something I would like to give advice to. Don't don't think you made it. You still, even when you made it, don't think it's gonna last forever too. Just enjoy it for like a minute or two and be like, ooh, that's so cool. And then be like, all right, back to work, for the next one, for the next trip, for the next event. And always show up on time, always smell good. Don't be hungover. Don't be the drunk person at the bar or at the party afterwards, because that kind of makes you look bad. Maybe you won't get invited again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. And I love the fact that you touched on, even at 24, you probably felt, oh my gosh, I've made it. But the fact that you were so grounded where you recognized of like, okay, I'm going to enjoy this. And then you kind of shifted into, you came back, became an educator. I'm sure
Mm.
perhaps in this journey of becoming an educator, did you feel like you made it as well at that point? It's almost like you've had these milestones where you're like, okay, then what's the next thing?
Uh, no, I never. Even now, as an educator, which I don't work every day, I get booked to do events now. I used to go to work every day. But no, I was always trying to be better. I was always trying to be better with my words. So it's like my hands were doing something, but then what was I saying? How can I express what I'm doing? How can I explain it in a way where it's simplified? And it's hard. It's tough talking in front of a bunch of people that are staring at you and like observing you and watching everything from your shoes to how your hair looks and how you set up your tools. Everything is magnified. Um, and I was just trying to be as perfect as possible because I was remembering how I was when I was a student. And yeah, I was observing everything they did, all these little habits and quirks. And I thought, oh, okay, cool. Like they're that's how, that's what makes them amazing. All the little things that lead up to like the actual finished result. But no, I knew I had a lot of work to do. I knew there was people out there that were way better than me. And not to mention like the people I worked with on all the shows, they handle more pressure than I did.
Yeah.
Um, the education part was great because it kept me. It was like practice. It was going to work. I would teach a class, and it was like going to practice if you're an athlete. And then when there was a big event or show, it was like game day. So my
Nice.
hands were always ready to go. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, incredible. I think you've shared incredible tips in the sense of, first staying grounded, networking, saying yes to things you just literally don't know where it can take you, and really kind of starting with the basics, right? Get really good at blow drying.
Yeah.
That is just, I mean, if there's any type of caption for this, is like, what was the seed? That was it, and that led you to become an assistant and all of these amazing things. Well, Manny, what do you feel is your purpose?
Sure. My purpose is just to not drop the standards in the industry because the people that came before me set the standard and set the bar so high that I always aim for the moon. I always try to do the best that I can so that some young person, cosmetology student, or someone thinking about entering the cosmetology world can see it and be like, I could see myself doing that one day. I don't want to be rude or anything, but like we're all familiar with shit. Like we're all familiar with what it looks like, what it smells like. We've all dealt with it. I have dogs. I've picked up poop. I've wiped, I clean diapers and change diapers. So we're all familiar with shit, but when do you know what good is? Like how do you know the difference? And it's like fine art. Like how do you distinguish like regular average art to like really like fine art? And there's no answer, but it's somebody said, you know it when you see it. So I always try to do like the best that I can, not claim that it's the best, but I try to do the best so that when someone sees it, they can see that there's something different to that. Why does it look a little cooler? Or how did he make it look that way? So I just try to set the standard, because the people that came before me, all the greats, they did such a good job that it's like I have a duty to uphold. So yeah.
Wow. That's incredible. And what a beautiful mindset that you have. I absolutely love that. You must be always just creating and thinking bigger in your mind all the time.
Sometimes you have to.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to, because like I said, I have a family. I have, people that rely on me now. And I feel like there's also a lot of students that I was their educator, and that because of social media, they still see me and what I'm doing. So I feel like there's a lot of pressure, and I can't just not deliver. So I take it easy. I don't seem like I stress out, but yeah, like I have a standard I need to uphold, and I always try to do better, because I don't want to disappoint anyone, especially not myself.
We tend to be the biggest critics of our own work. And
Yes.
Manny, I just want to say, you are incredibly inspiring. And I'm just so thankful that you were able to join us today, and really appreciate all of the advice, all of the kind of insights. And I have to ask, did you say hello to Madonna on that plane?
Well, it was an awkward, we had to share the same exit. So so I was sitting, and then there was like the door, the exit door, and then there was another row in front. So as we were exiting the airplane, we kind of had that awkward moment of like, and I was like, no, you go first. And she was like, all right, whatever. And Madonna. So no, I didn't say hi to her, but I did. I was a gentleman, and I allowed her to go before me.
Well, that is just awesome. I'm sure in one of those moments you were trying to like, oh my goodness, here we go. You go first.
Yeah. Like, yeah, no, please. I insist. I mean, this was 2006, maybe 2007. Madonna was still a pretty big deal
She
back
was
then.
huge then. Yeah.
She's still a big deal now, but at the time, I'm like, oh my gosh, Madonna.
Yeah. And I'm sure you have so many moments you were starstruck like that throughout your career.
Oh yeah. It
Yeah.
happens.
Okay.
and I always remember, where I grew up. I always remember my group of friends that I grew up with. It's like, I'll never forget where I came from. And I'm like, how am I here? I'm not supposed to be here.
Oh, yes, you are. You have such a humble mindset, of course. Well, any other kind of celebrity encounters you want to share that were fun?
No, I actually, I never really dealt with a lot of celebrities. I did the hair for, do you remember the Cake Boss?
Oh, yeah.
Buddy Velastro. So he was my client. He'd come get a haircut every couple of weeks when I used to live in the East Coast. And then they invited me to go do a filming of him getting a haircut at one of the studios in like by the Chelsea Piers in New York. And they asked me as I'm cutting his hair, it's a silly story. They're like, what's it like cutting Buddy's hair? And I'm like, piece of cake. Cake Boss. No, but he's a great client. I don't have a ton of celebrity encounters. I mean, I remember being in an area where we were doing a photo shoot or a video shoot in LA for Paul Mitchell, and then the studio where we were, there was like Studio A, Studio B, or Studio 1, Studio 2, Studio 3. We were in like Studio 2, but Studio 1 there was like Matthew McConaughey and what's Goldie Hawn's daughter's name?
Kate Hudson.
Kate Hudson, they were doing a photo shoot. There was like an elephant in the back because they were filming with an elephant. Yeah, stuff like that. Mr. T was in the studio one time in LA. LA's nuts. Yeah, Lindsay Lohan was smoking a cigarette there, like right next to us. It's just like random LA photo shoot stuff. Yeah, you just never know who you're gonna run into. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome, Manny. Well, again, thank you so much for your time. We so appreciate you, and just the fact that you are just such an example of just following a yes attitude. And I think that that is so needed in this industry, because we can get caught up. There is, all different things coming at you, different directions, different opinions about things. And also, kind of staying above that. If anybody has an opinion about what you do or how you do things, and just really kind of owning your true self and knowing your value, and just staying on the positive side of things. And I just think you're such a true testament of where you can go, and kind of, you never know who may be smoking a cigarette next to you at some point.
Well, now it's probably a vape, right?
It's true. That's true. Things have changed. Yes.
Right. Yeah. But yeah, thank you so much, April. Thanks for taking the time to maybe getting to know me a little bit and some of the stuff that I've experienced. It's been a lot of fun, and honestly, it's been like a little too easy, but I think it's part of having that good attitude of like, is it really work when you love what you do? Right. So that's kind of what's happened for me.
Incredible. Thank you again.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Making It, the path to beauty industry greatness with Canvas Me. Our mission is to give you a voice, help you find your place of belonging, and empower you to thrive in this beautiful industry. We hope you found inspiration and valuable insights that will fuel your own journey in your career. Head over to canvasme.com and unlock the next chapter of your beauty journey. Create your portfolio, showcase your unique talents, and connect with a community that understands and celebrates your story. Subscribe to Making It for more inspiring stories, and let's continue making it together.